Any network can't exist on its own and requires connectivity to external networks deployed by other manufacturers. Such networks may include models running on MIT algorithm, Cisco or Chinese analogs, and the compositor software network itself. 96-channel extension gives access to 32 real-time signal sequences operating on the CV protocol, 32 signal stations working on the radio protocols FT4 and FT8. These are specialized radio protocols, and the actual transmission data level of OSI and IP protocols. RAD96X has no inputs because it is an edge router, not a data center level router. Since all programs represent a single constructive, and the network topology is built within a single machine, it makes no sense to talk about Cisco's division into access layers. In this case, all layers are executed in the boundaries of one scalable platform, namely the memory bus of the host device. Without exception, all compositor software plugins are scalable platforms, the so-called soft processors, which perform all the useful work in a certain segment of the device's memory and absolutely do not load the CPU of the host device. The most common problem of streaming is the so-called discontinuity. It causes audible clicks in streaming. AI RT1024 works on the principle of clicks prediction, dividing the frame into quantum sections of the quantized mesh and achieving hitless quantum radio transmission. When coinciding with a given quantized frame, clicks are replaced by subframe of the quantized function, and then performance is reproduced without clicks by interpolation function. They also call this method quantum interpolation and considers it a significant achievement in streaming reproduction worthy of patent royalties. Telescopes of the Soviet RT series are communication devices with an interferometer to change the position of the antenna differential by GPS coordinates. Telescope algorithm is a digital clone, like with technology from some manufacturers represents clones of physical devices. Telescope algorithm is a carbon copy of the Bear Lakes telescope interferometer nearby Moscow, which makes it possible to use the intercontinental telescope aperture network to calculate routing paths. AVOX, declension from AVOX, Airborne Early Warning and Control, is a transmitting station algorithm for calling long-haul communication systems. This algorithm itself is not adapted for streaming, but can transmit the coordinates of servers for subsequent routing. It can also be used in conjunction with a radios server via RAD96 tokenized access for local IP telephony and corporate communication networks. AVOX alongside with SAZR are the only over-the-horizon systems for non-local content that operate in military and emergency conditions. But you should use AVOX extremely rarely and carefully, because as you remember that one flight of AVOX through a geographical parallel can completely interrupt radio communications throughout the entire country. Part of every broadcast studio must necessarily be a mechanic on the Alexanderson's alternator, the first device for generating radio frequency. Such a device in the broadcast studio of compositor software is a full-fledged mechanic on the 8-liter V12 engine, which is STC2k Holographic radar. Included in the full package of the Compositor Broadcast Studio, STC2k is able to holographically perform communication points by a non-visual method. Holography in this case is caused by the method of interfering with transformation into a polarizer on the output stage, which makes it possible to make direct switching for this type of device. IPTV is a streaming algorithm for Apple TV Plus series and similar services with IP broadcasting. This service is an interdisciplinary scalar machine for stream buffering by interaction with feeders TC25, N9000, FF8, and IE-RT1024. The response of the program depends on the size of the feed frame and can be used as a satellite telephone dealer for broadcasting within the sovereignty of the country. Again, with caution, as not all freely available satellite signal produce a response in the training circuit for the main machine controlled by the compositor. The service usage policy sets the scheduler of your system based on the communication protocol allowed in a given geographical location, so you can never use these plugins against the sovereignty of the country. This is the difference between the post-directive and human transmitters. STC2k is used to connect to the Argentina-Antarctica cable line. The stochastic chain of this algorithm is ideally matched to provide coordinates corresponding to the cable line between Argentina and Antarctica, which has existed there since World War II, is used for the international broadcasting by the Argentina Cable Company. For streaming broadcast from the territory of this country, you can use the transmitters at one of the stations in the Antarctic. The frame length of the sonar is 2048 samples, which correspond to the half frame of the transmitted signal and is ideal for long-range buffering. STC2k Holographic radar for saturation is a protocol Z equals 32, which was developed during long-term testing of this algorithm for the establishment of long stochastic communication chains. This is a corporate format of streaming broadcasting of a given geographical region and is 1 power more than the ground of the Earth's circumference. This approach allows you to throw arcs both beyond the horizon and within the broadcast range of RAD96M transmitter.